Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, picture a world that absolutely glitters with gold, right? But underneath, it is literally built on blood. Today, we're immersing ourselves in an incredibly dark, highly dramatic survival story from Ming Dynasty China. And listen, this isn't your standard historical timeline. We are taking a cinematic, deeply emotional journey into a claustrophobic world where every single shadow hides a knife and every silk curtain conceals a deadly secret. So brace yourself, because we're going to look at history through a very intimate, honestly terrifying lens.
So imagine this. The year is 1570. You are just 12 years old, playing barefoot in the dirt outside your family's shack. Then, out of nowhere, this sleek, black-lacquered carriage pulls up. A man steps out. He's draped in silk robes, but his face is just like stone, and his eyes scan you like a butcher in a meat aisle. He doesn't ask any questions. He just inspects your teeth, your skin, your feet. Then, he carelessly tosses your father a single sack of silver. And just like that, you are cargo. As the cart rattles away, your mother's sobs just kind of blur into the dust. You are heading straight into a visceral nightmare.
All right, let's quickly map out this timeline we're dealing with here. From being sold at age 12, thrust into the inner court at 13, somehow surviving the deadly politics of motherhood at 16, facing execution at 22, and then enduring a horrific plague at 25. Every single milestone here represents a brutal threshold. This is a journey where slipping up doesn't mean you fail a test or lose a job. It means you literally don't live to see the next year.
Okay, Section 1. Sold into the harem. The price of entry. You finally arrive at the towering, blood-red gates of the Forbidden City, where cold-eyed eunuchs poke and prod you, and your terrifying initiation really begins.
Now, to even pass this initial inspection, your feet have to meet the Emperor's standard. And that means foot binding. This is the agonizing, clinical brutality of crushing your foot bones into what they call lotus shapes, just to ensure you hobble prettily. It's a torturous, mandatory requirement that leaves you screaming in agony for weeks. It's your introduction to a world where your pain is literally sculpted for someone else's pleasure.
If you actually survive that physical torment, you're handed the 3 golden rules of the harem. Step 1, obey. Step 2, charm. Step 3, survive. Listen, there is no HR department here, okay? If you pour tea too slowly, a bamboo rod cracks your knuckles. You spill a drop, you're locked in a closet to starve. Failing these steps doesn't mean you get sent home. It means starvation or a quiet, permanent trip into the palace moat.
Moving on to surviving the inner court, a prison draped in silk. Fast forward a year. You're 13 now, scrubbing floors with bound feet, quickly learning that in this maze of gold and jasmine, beauty strictly equals pain.
So, a fellow concubine, her name's May, leans in while you're scrubbing the floor and whispers this super chilling warning. Trust no one. They'll drown you in silk to climb higher. She tells you about a girl from just the week before who completely vanished. Her crime? She was caught simply flirting with a palace guard. A eunuch dragged her out, her screams fading into the moat. The rumors say the palace carp ate well that night.
Then comes what you might call your big break, the Emperor's Banquet. You're dressed in silk that costs more than your entire home village. But honestly, it feels like a leash. You're ordered to pour wine for a leering noble. His hand grazes your wrist, completely making your skin crawl, but you cannot flinch. Across the room, the Emperor's mother watches from her throne, her scarred face totally unreadable, her gaze resting on your throat like a blade. Your hands shake, the wine sloshes. You know if a single drop falls, you are erased.
Somehow, you manage to survive the banquet, and you actually catch the Emperor's eye. The gong sounds. You're carried into his chamber, the silk curtains sealing shut behind you like a shroud. You're totally alone, with a man whose whim dictates life and death. He steps close to you in the predator's lamplight and softly delivers this velvet threat. Please me, or you'll wish you hadn't. The claustrophobia is just intense. You force a smile, painting your survival in blood, knowing failure is a one-way trip to the moat.
Which brings us to the price of power, motherhood, and treason. Let's jump ahead. You're 16 now. The harem has carved you into a blade forged in fear. And against all odds, the Emperor has noticed you.
And this brilliantly illustrates the catch-22 of the palace. You discover you're pregnant. Now, the expectation here is that a son is your jackpot, right? Your golden ticket to becoming an untouchable consort. But the reality is way darker. Giving birth to a male heir paints a massive glowing bullseye right on your baby's tiny head. The palace buzzes like a kicked hive, and suddenly every shadow is a potential assassin. The threats start escalating incredibly fast. First, a cutthroat rival, the Jade Hairpin consort, spreads a rumor that you poisoned her tea. Next thing you know, you're violently hauled before the Emperor's mother for a terrifying trial, literally a whip hovering inches from your skin. You only survive because a brave servant vouches that she saw you pour the tea clean. But right after that, you discover eunuchs have been bribed to frame you for outright treason. It is just a relentless onslaught.
And this whole situation comes down to a single number: 1. Pause and think about that. No matter how high you rise, no matter how much the Emperor favors you, you are always exactly one lie away from a noose. One planted rumor, one bribed guard, one whisper in the wrong ear, and your life, along with your babies, is over. Paranoia is your constant, suffocating companion. This brings us to our final section: final years and legacy, blood and plague. The tone shifts heavily here. You're 22 years old now, and a deadly plague is sweeping through the starving, panicking inner court. In all the chaos of this plague, your name ends up on a list. A rival, the Pearl Earring Consort, sees her chance and accuses you of witchcraft, claiming you cursed the sick emperor's health. Boom! Instant death sentence. You are dragged out into the freezing stone courtyard. Your bound feet throb as you're forced to your knees. The moonlight is glinting off the executioner's heavy blade, hovering right over your neck, and you can literally hear your young son screaming in the distance.
So the climax of this terrifying night comes down to this accusation: cursing the Emperor, brought by the Pearl Earring Consort. But literally, as the blade is about to drop, your loyal maid bursts through the courtyard doors clutching a stolen letter. The truth is finally exposed. Your accuser bribed a eunuch to plant herbs in your room. The Emperor's mother pauses, reads the letter, and the blade drops. But not on you. It drops on the Pearl Earring Consort. Her screams cut short as blood pools on the stones.
You're spared, but you know deep down your son is never going to be safe in this place. So you make the agonizing choice to smuggle him out to a distant cousin. By age 25, the palace has absolutely taken its toll. Your body is breaking, your bound feet are severely infected, your joints just ache from years of kneeling, and your lungs are scarred from the plague. As you lie coughing on a threadbare mat, a new, younger girl's laughter echoes down the hall. But you know what? You find peace. You pass your hard-won survival tricks to those younger girls, knowing your son is out there, alive and free.
We're going to end on this really profound thought. You were a spark in a dynasty's flame, a shadow that outwitted death until it came knocking. You see, you were never just cargo. You played the absolute deadliest game in history, and in the ultimate test of endurance, you won the only prize that actually mattered. Your bloodline survived. Thank you so much for joining me for this dark, cinematic journey into the past. It leaves us with a heavy question. What lengths would you go to if survival was your only option? Keep learning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.